Welcome! During the following minutes, I will guide you through an analysis of Deification of a Soldier, a painting by Kikuya Yamashita that acts as a delation of the inconceivable atrocities that the Vietnamese War caused among the Japanese civil population. Yamashita conveys this message through the employment of abstraction, confrontational stares, and references to Pablo Picasso's Guernica. Deification of a Soldier was painted in 1976 Japan, during a decade filled with political and social turmoil for the Southeast Asian peninsula due to the Cold War and the War from Vietnam. After the Japanese government signed agreements to support the United States in their fight against the communist bloc, the country saw the rise of anti-war, anti-government leftist civil groups that used various forms of manifestation to rebel against American presence. One such manifestation was reportage painting, an avant-garde art stream that documented not only the material reality of events, but their social significance and unfathomable complexity of a collective struggle between facts and meaning-making. As such, reportage painting goes to resources that involve some form of abstraction or disfiguration. This reinterpretation through abstraction is seen in the nightmare-like creature of multiple heads and mouths, describing a disturbing continuity of scattered and elongated limbs, drowning in a painful chaos. Dimly illuminated, the multiple layers of this creature remind of a cross-section. Every stratum brings us closer to the dark and empty void background in which everything ends up hidden, and one asks, how can so much suffering be merely forgotten into the void? Beyond the general unrest experienced by the Japanese civil population during the U.S. presence, the deification of a soldier comes from the author's participation in the conflict. His widow explains the regret he experienced kept him from sleeping at night and became a driving force behind his paintings. He once wrote about executing a prisoner of war in a very brutal fashion. I can never forget the day that we buried alive and tortured to death a Chinese prisoner. I had become an animal masquerading as a human being, capable of committing savage acts, but unable to see my own savagery. A clear reference to this animality is revealed by the two horse heads in both upper corners, one of their silhouettes severely diffuse, and the eye socket empty against the blood portion of the background. The right horse has its eye closed, as if lifeless, and its ear is subject to intervention by the least abstract figure of the painting, a closed-eyed person in fancy costumes trying to say something right into its ear. There, in the middle of the visual massacre perpetrated by mindless aggressors onto blind victims, we find it, or better said, it finds us. Patiently waiting in the darkest and deepest corner of the seemingly empty background, a single eye observes us. As stated by Garland Thompson, staring is a political act with the potential to emphasize or reverse power dynamics. It can establish a connection that overrides the morbid urge to look at the dissonance of normalcy, reminding participants of their shared human essence. However, this eye provides everything but comfort. The lack of a body to which it belongs showcases the power it has over us. A silent observer with nothing to lose makes it clear that the staring competition has your reaction to the life massacre as the only focus. Will you grant the privilege of your acknowledgement, or will you look away? Finally, the painting gains a new layer of meaning through its similarities with Picasso's 1937 Guernica. Although this reference has never been recognized, it is sensible to draw a relationship of intertextuality between these two pieces when we consider that one of Yamashita's art teachers, Fukushima Ishiro, was trained in Europe during the peak of Surrealism, heavily influencing his style in teaching. Contemplating Yamashita and Picasso's pieces side by side, we are encountered with spine-chilling common features. With a fairly limited color palette, both authors portray human-like creatures in strange positions that suggest to be the reason behind the aggressively open mouths, which desperately fill the metaphorical spaces with cries for help. Both paintings seem to speak the same cryptic, however sensitive language, or to belong to the same dimension. We feel a need to escape of it, to put distance between us and them by looking away, or convincing ourselves that the world does not look like those disfigured bodies. But it is undeniable, Yamashita and Picasso belong to the same story as we do, and they are nothing more than humans who dived deep into the putrid guts of humanity and came back to denounce the shattering absurdity of military conflict through art.